7 honey brands sitting on Australian supermarket shelves right now are complete frauds. What's inside those jars is not the pure golden honey you are paying for. It is imported sugar syrup, repackaged as Australian-made. We investigated the honey industry's darkest secrets, and what we found is genuinely disturbing. Choice magazine testing exposed varied authenticity in major supermarket honey brands. One household name that pensioners trust for supporting local farmers has its honey packed by third-party factories using overseas glucose blends. Another brand removed all pollen traces, making it impossible to verify if there is any real honey inside at all. Your grandparents bought honey from local beekeepers who could name every flower their bees visited. Today, honey comes from corporate boardrooms where profit matters more than purity. Elderly Australians on fixed incomes pay premium prices believing they are buying medicine from the hive, but they are actually consuming processed syrups that can interfere with blood pressure medications and cause dangerous spikes in blood sugar. The honey industry has betrayed every Australian who trusted that golden jar. Stay until the end of this video. We're about to reveal which brands are lying to you and which ones you can actually trust. Hit subscribe because this investigation will change how you shop forever. Lowry Honey, owned by Capilano, positions itself as 100% pure Australian honey, with native flora images on its packaging. The reality is far less sweet. In 2018, independent laboratory tests found no real pollen in Lowry honey samples. This absence of pollen is a major red flag that suggests what is in the jar is not genuine honey, but imported sugar syrup blends. The heavy processing required to remove all pollen traces also strips away the antioxidants and digestive enzymes that make real honey beneficial. This processing is not just removing identifying markers, it is removing everything that makes honey nutritionally valuable. The most concerning aspect is how this brand specifically targets budget-conscious seniors. Pensioners living on fixed incomes are unknowingly wasting their limited money on what amounts to glorified sugar water. They believe they are investing in a natural health product when they are actually buying an industrially processed imitation that offers none of honey's genuine benefits. For elderly Australians, particularly those managing health conditions, this deception is not just financial, it is potentially dangerous. Real honey has natural antimicrobial properties and contains compounds that support immune function. Processed sugar syrups offer none of these benefits while potentially complicating existing health conditions. Number 6. Mixed Blossom Honey. Generic supermarket. Mixed Blossom honey brands market themselves as value options for budget-conscious families. These affordable choices may seem like smart shopping, but laboratory analysis tells a different story. These products typically combine cheap honey imports, primarily from China and Argentina, and are often blended with rice syrup to achieve a consistent texture. The processing of these blends frequently involves reheating, which destroys the natural enzymes and beneficial compounds in whatever small percentage of real honey might be present. For diabetic seniors, these products are particularly problematic. The added sugars and altered composition can spike blood glucose levels in ways that natural honey does not. Another telltale sign of fake honey is how quickly it crystallizes in the jar. While crystallization is normal for real honey, these processed blends often show unusual patterns because of their artificial composition. This rapid spoilage means consumers actually waste money in the long run, as the product becomes unusable more quickly. The false economy of these value honey products ultimately costs more through both health impacts and practical waste. By misleading consumers about composition and origin, these brands exploit people trying to save money while delivering less value per dollar than authentic alternatives. Number 5. IGA Home Brand Honey. IGA positions itself as a local supermarket chain supporting Australian communities, creating an expectation that their home brand honey upholds these same values, local. However, consumer watchdogs have repeatedly flagged IGA's home brand honey for its unclear sourcing. Laboratory analysis suggests these products contain only minor amounts of genuine Australian honey, if any at all, unclear. Like other questionable brands, IGA's honey undergoes extensive pollen removal. This process not only eliminates traceability, but also removes potential allergy benefits that local pollen can provide. Traceability. The lack of transparency in their supply chain directly contradicts the community-focused image IGA cultivates in its marketing: transparency. This deception particularly impacts retirees who specifically shop at IGA, believing they are supporting local businesses and getting trustworthy local products. Retirees. Many seniors deliberately choose IGA over larger supermarket chains based on this perception of community support and authenticity. The betrayal here is twofold. Both patriotic values and consumer wallets are compromised. Betrayal. Elderly Australians who prioritise supporting local businesses are unknowingly purchasing imported sugar syrups processed to mimic honey while paying premium prices for what they believe is a locally produced natural product. Premium. Number 4. Bega Private Label Honey. Bega, primarily known as a trusted Australian dairy brand, has extended into the honey market with private label products. Their strong brand recognition builds immediate trust with consumers. However, investigation reveals that Bega's honey lines are packed by third-party contract factories with questionable sourcing practices. Despite the trusted Australian brand name, these products frequently use overseas glucose blends as their base. This presents particular dangers for elderly consumers on medication regimens. Medical research indicates that these imported syrups can interact poorly with common blood pressure medications, potentially causing dangerous fluctuations in seniors' health management. What makes this especially deceptive is the quiet outsourcing behind a trusted Australian brand name. Consumers, particularly patriotic pensioners, believe they are supporting an iconic Australian company with deep roots in our agricultural communities. Instead, their money flows to foreign sugar producers while offering none of the health benefits they are seeking from genuine honey. The exploitation of brand trust to sell foreign imitations represents a particularly cynical form of consumer deception. It leverages decades of goodwill built by authentic Australian production to market products that contradict everything the brand originally stood for. Woolworths positions its essentials honey as a cheap and cheerful everyday staple, making it a common choice for price-conscious shoppers. However, Choice magazine's independent testing found what they diplomatically called varied authenticity in these products. In plain language, this means the honey often fails standard authentication tests for pure honey. The health implications are significant. These high fructose imitations can raise triglycerides and place additional stress on the heart, which is particularly concerning for seniors already managing cardiovascular conditions. The irony is that these products are often marketed specifically to health-conscious older Australians seeking simple, unprocessed foods. The short-term savings at checkout are ultimately negated by the long-term health costs. For elderly Australians managing chronic conditions, consuming these processed sugar blends instead of genuine honey can lead to expensive medical complications and worsening health outcomes. Woolworths leverages its position as Australia's largest supermarket chain to normalise these substitute products, making them seem like reasonable alternatives to authentic honey. This mainstream positioning makes it even harder for consumers to recognise the significant quality differences between genuine honey and processed imitations. Number 2. Aldi. Bramwell's Honey. Aldi's Bramwell's Honey proudly displays the words "Product of Australia" on its label, creating a strong impression of local production and quality. However, our investigation ties this brand to bulk blends that use imported bases. While the final processing may technically occur in Australian facilities, allowing the Product of Australia label, the honey itself often originates overseas. The processing methods used for these blends frequently involve overheating, which destroys the natural probiotics and enzymes that make real honey beneficial for digestive health. For seniors seeking honey specifically for these health properties, they are paying for benefits that have been processed out of the product. Aldi's use of Australian imagery and labelling exploits consumers' desire to support local production. The legal technicality between processed in Australia and produced in Australia creates deliberate confusion that benefits the retailer at the expense of informed consumer choice. The impact on elderly Australians is particularly troubling. Many seniors specifically use honey for its digestive health benefits, which these over-processed products cannot provide. They are paying for therapeutic benefits while receiving what amounts to flavoured sugar syrup with none of the medicinal properties of authentic honey. Number 1. Capilano and Westcoby blended jars. Perhaps most disturbing is our number 1 offender, these blended honey jars. Capilano has positioned itself as Australia's historic honey leader, creating an expectation of quality and authenticity. However, before its merger into Hive Plus Wellness, the company was linked to multiple adulteration claims that raised serious questions about product integrity. The key deception lies in the inconspicuous blended honey label. This seemingly innocent term carries important legal implications. Under Australian labelling laws, blended honey permits the mixing of foreign syrup with minimal actual honey content. Many consumers do not realise this distinction, assuming they are getting pure honey, perhaps mixed from different floral sources. This processing negates the antibacterial benefits that make real honey valuable for senior wound care and immune support. Traditional uses of honey for throat soothing and minor wound healing rely on compounds that are absent in these blended products. The consolidation of Australia's honey industry under corporate ownership has prioritised profit margins over product purity. What was once a cottage industry of local beekeepers with direct community connections has transformed into an international supply chain focused on volume and cost reduction. The scandal history surrounding these products spans decades, with multiple authentication controversies tarnishing consumer trust. Each new revelation has been met with rebranding efforts rather than fundamental changes to sourcing practices. This creates a trust crisis that extends beyond honey to other supermarket products. Here are the health implications. The production of fake honey follows a fairly standard pattern across the industry. First, cheap glucose syrups are imported from countries like China, Argentina, and Vietnam. These syrups are then blended with minimal Australian honey, sometimes as little as 5% by volume, to provide basic honey characteristics. To hide the true origins of these blends, manufacturers use ultrafiltration to remove all pollen. Pollen is the genetic fingerprint of honey that can identify its floral and geographic source, so removing it eliminates the most reliable method of authentication. After filtration, artificial flavouring and colouring create the appearance and taste of honey, though the nuanced flavour profiles of genuine varieties are impossible to replicate exactly. Finally, these products are packaged with Australian imagery and Product of Australia labelling that exploits regulatory loopholes, allowing for minimal local processing to qualify for domestic labelling. For seniors, the health impacts of these fake products are particularly concerning. Glucose syrups interact differently with blood pressure and diabetes medications compared to natural honey. The processing destroys antibacterial, probiotic, and enzyme properties that make real honey beneficial for elderly health. The high fructose content in these syrups can cause dangerous blood sugar spikes for diabetics, while the elimination of gut-supporting probiotics through overheating removes potential digestive benefits. Essentially, seniors believe they are consuming a traditional health food while actually ingesting a processed sugar product that may complicate existing health conditions. This represents a dramatic departure from Australia's honey heritage. From the 1950s through the 1980s, local beekeepers supplied communities with traceable honey, where relationships between producers and consumers created accountability. The corporate consolidation that began in the 1990s replaced this artisan production model with industrial processing focused on consistency and cost reduction. By the 2000s, overseas sourcing had increased dramatically as companies sought to cut costs and boost profits. During the 2010s, laboratory testing exposed widespread authenticity problems, yet regulatory loopholes continue to allow consumer deception today. Fortunately, there are still authentic Australian honey brands worth your trust. Capilano's pure Australian single-source varieties, despite issues with their blended products, offer genuine eucalyptus and wildflower options with verifiable Australian origins. Beechworth Honey remains family-owned in Victoria, with transparent sourcing practices and a commitment to authentic production. Similarly, Superbee produces small-batch honey with complete traceability to specific apiaries. What makes these trustworthy options different is their authentic pollen content, which laboratory verification confirms comes from Australian native plants. They use minimal processing methods, often cold extraction, to preserve enzymes and probiotics. Their transparent sourcing allows consumers to trace honey to specific regions and flower types, and their careful handling preserves the antibacterial and digestive properties that make honey valuable for senior health. In conclusion, 7 major honey brands are selling processed imitations as pure Australian honey. Most are owned by multinational corporations that prioritize profit over authenticity, creating a system of deception that particularly targets elderly Australians with health concerns. Regulatory gaps continue to allow this consumer fraud despite repeated exposures. And here is the bigger question. If this is happening with something as simple and universal as honey, what else in our kitchens might not be what it claims to be? If you found this investigation eye-opening, hit subscribe now to protect yourself from food fraud. Share this video with someone you care about before they waste money on fake honey again. Comment below which brands you will avoid. Your experience matters to our community.